where you really want to live is, what is the right problem? And most people miss this step big time, and they just start going into what we call like a discussion and coming up with action items, and they go work their tails off and bust it 16 hours a day, but they're not even focused on the right problem. So really making sure that you've identified that, yes, this is the right problem that we want to solve, and then going into, what is the right way to solve it given your scenario and your circumstances.
When your leads are low and your sales are slow, who you gonna call? Brushbuster. Scaling up the game. Big projects, friend.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Brushbusters. Got Jesse here. I'm with Coach Gavin, and we are stoked to take you through today's episode.
Yeah, it's a special episode, isn't it, Jesse?
It is super special. And that's right. Today is the grand finale of season 1, and we're absolutely going to be going out with a bang. So we've read dozens of letters, tackled every kind of painting business problem you can imagine, and today we're closing this first chapter with something epic.
Yeah, that's right. Today we will be hitting letter number 100, which is we figured a nice even number to be wrapping up a season. We got a couple really good letters that some folks sent in that are going to hit home for a lot of you. So looking forward to going through them.
And don't worry, everybody, Brushbusters, it ain't going anywhere. It's actually going to get better and better. We're just going to be taking a short break, gear up for season 2, which is going to be even more powerful than you've ever seen before.
Yeah. Little peek behind the curtain. We're going to be bringing on some new coaches, some fresh faces, some new segments, a little bit more chaos, a little bit more wisdom, and of course, way more brush busting action.
All right. So whether you're driving or you want to grab a coffee, sit down, relax, or whether you're on a job site listening, let's get into it.
Let's get in. Quick question, Jesse. Do you think more people, we should do a poll of our listeners. Do more people listen to Brushbusters with a coffee in their hand or a beer in their hand?
I guess third option is also, or a paintbrush in your hand.
Or a paintbrush in your hand. Let us know. I'm very curious.
Hopefully we're getting less away from listening to this. If you've listened to 100 episodes and you're still holding on to a paintbrush, we got bigger problems.
We got some work to do.
We got some work to do. Sorry, not 100 letters, not 100 episodes. That would be a good poll for everyone, though, wouldn't
it? That would be hilarious. I love the data. I love data.
Yeah, we love data.
It's a fun little data point.
Yeah.
Anyways,
so, listen, no metrics, no discussion, right?
Yeah.
All right. Exactly. That's great. So you take anything from this entire episode today, just know that if you ever do want to work with us with Painting Grow, it's like no metrics, no discussion. You got to know your numbers. We don't know your numbers. We don't even know, where to really.
We don't know what's wrong.
We don't know what's going on.
We can't fix the problem. We don't know what the problem is.
Yeah, so good. All right, man. You want to read the first letter?
Yeah. All right, let's do it. So this is Lewis from Boulder, Colorado. So
I want to thank the sponsor of today's episode, HireBus. HireBus is founded by badass entrepreneur and friend of the show, Brandon Vaughn. And HireBus will help you hire the top 3% of applicants, whether you're looking for painters, production managers, sales reps, administrators, or whatever role you need to hire. HireBus makes it super easy by handling the entire sales cycle and just sending you the top 3% of candidates. They also have some really crazy behavioral analytical tools where you can go and see exactly the preferences of the people you're hiring. So check out the link in the description. HireBus has a special deal for listeners of the podcast. Let's get back to it.
Hey, Brushbusters, I know you guys are big fans of door-to-door marketing, and I can definitely see how it could bring in solid leads. Problem is, my city doesn't allow door-to-door sales due to local regulations. I'm wondering, what are some good alternatives that bring similar results? I'm already doing Facebook ads and yard signs, but I feel like I'm missing the boots on the ground hustle. Any advice for filling that gap? Appreciate the help.
All right. Great question. And
fairly common
Definitely.
one within
Yeah,
our community.
yeah, common, especially with people that live in areas that have like gated communities and or the HOA doesn't allow it. So obviously, and people have heard before, door to door. It's an easy tactic. It's a really low cost per acquisition when you can get that dialed in, and it's just going out there and doing it. But again, it's just one tactic of many that you can do to grow your business. So, Gav, what in your situation, or in Lewis's situation here, what would you advise them to do to really start ramping up their marketing if they can't do door to door?
So, I mean, before we just go down the road, can't do door to door. Let's get clear. There might be regulations that that require a permit. That doesn't mean you can't do door to door. It just means you need a permit. There's a lot of places like that, and I have a lot of people who come to me like, I can't do door to door. It requires an $80 permit. Are you going to let an $80 permit prevent you from creating the business that's going to serve you and your family and your life? I hope not. And it is just one little hurdle that will stop a lot of people. So if you require a permit, get it, because then you're doing something that a lot of people are not doing, and that is going to put you ahead. So I just want to get clear on that.
Well, I think that just to touch on that, and the reason why we are such big advocates of doing this is because 99.9% of not just painting contractors, but like all of contractors don't want to do this, and they don't do it. And
100%.
so that's why if you're in the 0.1% that is willing to do this activity, you're setting yourself apart already, and you're just you're just cherry picking the type of jobs that you want.
Yeah, exactly. But let's just pretend that door to door is just not an option. You either it's just not allowed, or whatever. Where my mind goes is a couple things. So if you already have other marketing campaigns, if one of them's working, giving you a great return on investment, double down on that, right? So if you have Facebook ads and they're bringing in great leads at a reasonable price, increase your investment in that. That being said, so I'm going to go over like a master plan to break into, like, let's say gated communities or just neighborhoods where you want to target, but you can't actually do the physical door to door. So in our program, we stress really heavily, like, marketing needs to be layered. So you should have different marketing tactics stacked on top of each other in very specific areas, versus like one campaign super spread out over an entire city. You want to get laser focused and then stack multiple marketing on top of each other. So for example, if I wanted to break into a series of gated communities, first thing I would do is, if you got Facebook ads, make sure your Facebook ads are running over those areas. That's an easy one. Step 2, get yard signs.
And on that is on the Facebook one is also eliminate the areas that you don't want on there.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Like that's actually the bigger piece. Because if you're running Facebook ads, right, and if you know your area well enough, like Gavin's talking about, of like these targeted areas, but you're running for an entire geographic region and whatnot, and you're getting leads that are an hour away, and they're not even the type of jobs or communities that you want to go to, you're literally just throwing money.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
I did skip that step. Step number 1, identify your target neighborhood like you would with door to door.
Right.
Because even within a city like Boulder, it's not a massive city, but it is, it's pretty significant. The whole city is not your clients, right? A select portion of that city is your clients, and that's where you want to focus all your marketing. So identify those areas first, get your Facebook ads running over those areas. You still want to have some form of like physical advertising happening in the area. So that's just yard signs. Again, you might not be able to put them in those neighborhoods, but you can probably put them on all the feeder routes going to them, right? All the main roads, the malls, strip malls, anything in the area, churches, schools, etc., parks. And then this is where like direct mail can come in quite handy. So you can just hit that neighborhood with direct mail over and over and over again, because that's going to go in their mailboxes, and that's just every 6 weeks. So the combination of yard signs direct mail over and over again, Facebook ads, and then ideally try and join those Facebook groups as well to get those like people who are asking for referrals and stuff. That's how you break into those neighborhoods.
Can we just pause on the one thing you said that I think, just for everybody listening? Gavin said drop direct mail every 6 weeks.
Yeah, not once. Direct mail does not work if you just do it once. That's not how it works. It's every
because people, right? They're gonna, what happens and what we see time and time again is they say, oh, direct mail doesn't work. Okay, well, how many pieces of direct mail have you sent out? Right, that's you. And then the most common response we hear is, well, I sent out 500 pieces.
Yeah.
Or I sent out 1,000 pieces, and I did it one time. For this strategy and tactic to really work, to where you get up to above 1%, like you said, it's to the same neighborhoods every 6 weeks, give or take, and you're doing it time and time and time again. And over time, you start to do different type of direct mail pieces, so they're not just getting the same thing over and over and over again. But in the beginning, you could send those first 3 direct mail with the exact same piece of mail
100%.
over
In
and
fact,
over
I
and
would
over
encourage
again,
that,
right?
Because then people recognize your brand.
Yeah.
Right. Because what's happening is you might not be getting, hopefully you will get some immediate call-ins. That's awesome. But you're building brand awareness, right? So they're seeing you physically in their hands. They're seeing you driving around, and now they're seeing you on their digital devices, right? That should get you your like initial few jobs in these areas. And the more consistently you do this, the more effective it's going to be, right? Then once it becomes a bit of a, not crazy different, but a bit of a different ballgame once you start producing work in these areas. So a couple things you can do here. So maintain the door-to-door, maintain all of that marketing. Don't stop it. And a couple things you can add on. So one is ideally get a lawn sign placed out front of their home, as long as the HOA will allow it. 2, do what I coined the courtesy knock. So this is extremely limited, kind of cheeky door-to-door. And what you do is, don't look like a canvasser. Don't have a pile of flyers in your hand. You have some business cards. Grab a Starbucks coffee cup, so it looks like you're just being very neighborly and it's like off the cuff. And you
can actually have a real coffee too if you want to hold your
coffee. And what you do is just the houses that are within visual range of the property that you're painting, you go knock on the door and you introduce yourself in the way of like, hey, I'm Gavin, I'm the owner of a painting company. Just wanted to give you a heads up. We're painting Tony's house just down the street there, 409. Just wanted to give you a heads up if you see any different vehicles parked around here, that it's just my painting team. Here's my card. If there's any issues, let me know. Now, depending on how this conversation goes and how the person receives you, then you can go a little deeper, right? So if they're like super standoffish, like, why the heck are you here? Like, leave now. Don't pitch them. Bad idea, right? But if they're like super nice, like super chill, they're like, oh, cool. Like, what are they doing over there? Like building rapport. You can just very casually like, yeah, like, hey, while I'm here, do you need any more painting done? And then you just do that around. You can also tell people if it's exterior, don't park over there. We're spraying. Just find an excuse to knock on their door. And the reason that's effective is because nobody else is doing it.
That's gold. I love that so much. And it's just, I was just talking to a couple of our clients, and they're a little bit earlier stage in their company, and I was like, guys, the number one thing you can do right now is just start conversations.
Totally.
Right, whether it's starting conversations with new potential clients, the neighbors, potential team members, subcontractors, or partners. Like, it's literally just about starting conversations. Like, that is like the one. We talk about number and data and whatnot. The KPI of just like how many new conversations did you start today would be really, we haven't told anyone to really track that yet, but just as we're riffing here, that'd be such an interesting metric to start chatting, is like how many new conversations you start today.
How many people did you educate on your business and your brand?
Yeah, and just sharing that out, and just building off that too. When you have these areas, the other thing to think about too is, okay, who your customers already talking to, right? So that's when you can think about the other home services, and then starting to network and connect with the owners of those companies, right? Because they're already chatting with your clientele, and what type of deal could you do with them in this situation. The other thing that I would just build to add on this too is, in a community like Boulder. I don't know much about Boulder, but off the top of my head, I know that it's very like outdoorsy. People are really into activity and nature. So I would say, what are those activities? And if you live in Boulder, you're probably into that already. So
Totally.
where are those areas that people are hanging out outside of their home? And then how do you, in those areas, how do you become the most helpful person? And then they're like, oh, you're the most helpful, person. Oh, you also happen to run a painting company. And then you become that person or that go-to. It would be the same strategy as finding those online groups on Facebook, right?
Yep.
And the strategy there is when you're online, you don't go on there and say, hey, I own a painting company and, please call me if you need any painting. Like that's the worst thing that you can do. What you can do is on those groups is see what type of questions people are posting on there and then just be a super valuable community member. And then over time, the other thing you can do is on your cover photo of like Facebook, for example, you can put that, you could have
Branding.
like your branding of your painting company and, we do free estimates so that when you answer questions authentically, people can click on that and they'll be like, oh, this guy actually need, now I'm thinking about painting. And that's the real strategy of, anything in life. If you just approach it as, hey, I'm going to show up regardless if people, do work with us or not. I'm going to be the most helpful person in the room here and add as much value as I can. You'll be shocked by how much that ultimately will end up turning into business for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's huge. I got a couple more tactics too to pile on this. So you got a lot of options. So to carry on your conversation, who's already working for those clients? Cruise through those neighborhoods. Look for yard signs. Look for branded contracting vehicles. Take a picture of it. Find their Instagram page. Send them the picture of their van and be like, hey, looks like we're working for the same types of clients. Want to grab a coffee?
Oh, dude, that's gold.
Right? Because then it
That's
shows
gold.
like that, hey, I was actually there. I saw your van. Or if they're actually there, don't be shy. Go say hi.
Totally. How many conversations you just started?
Right? Because that's the thing. Like if other people are already in the homes of your ideal clients, it's a lot easier for them to, refer you than you try and find that client organically.
Well, and just what you said there too, of like posting that photo, finding their Instagram, being in their inbox, like sending that direct message, I would also tick off of like that is starting a conversation. It's just starting a conversation
for
online,
sure.
right?
But it's not the general, hey, I'm Gavin, I own a painting company. Do you want to work together? Do you want to share leads? Like, who cares? It's different as a pattern interrupt. It's like, boom, why does he have a picture of my van? Hey, saw you, Laurel Street the other day. That's awesome. I was just working down the around the corner, down the street. Want to grab a coffee? Seems like we work for the same type of people. Here's my car. And they take a picture of your own brand new vehicle. Like, have you seen us around? Like stuff like that. It's different and it's interesting. And it shows that you're actually putting effort. So it's like laser. It's the sniper approach versus the machine gun approach.
100%.
I got one last little tactic here.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, so once you've broken into these neighborhoods, obviously the customer should be absolutely stoked. When they are, ask them, hey, do you mind if we take a picture of you, if it's outside, like in front of your home, holding a yard sign, or like in the living room that we painted? Can I snap a picture of you with the guys like holding our yard sign, looking absolutely stoked? And then if I send that to you, I'll text it to you right now. Like, do you mind posting that to your social media and tagging us? Because what that does is if you post that picture on your social media, that's just going to get pushed to the people that already follow you. Not overly useful. But if they post it to their social media, both of them, let's say husband and wife, and then tag you, the 500-600 people in their social media network, possibly more, are then going to see that. So you've now tapped into their network. A lot of that network probably lives in that neighborhood. And if they were great clients know great clients, right? So that's how you actually organically get leads from social media, not just posting pretty, before and after pictures. And if you do that for every single job, that's a ninja move. You'll get so many referrals. It's unbelievable.
I'm just laughing because, Claudia, if you're listening to this right now, we're going to need you to download this transcript and we're going to have to add this specific tactic to our standard SOP for the end of a checklist because that's absolute gold, Gavin. Okay, man, that just to round this out. So there's so many different, there's so many additional things that you can do for marketing to drive business. We've given you probably 8-10 different tactics just in the sake of this conversation. The thing that we always like to say is always have at least 4 tactics going at one time, right? So you don't need to do all 8 or 10 of these right now, but choose 4 and execute those 4 really, really good.
Yeah.
Right.
Commit to them.
One isn't enough. You're not hitting it from enough angles. It's like you do need to have that layered. I would say at least 4 tactics where your leads are coming in from. And if you do that, no matter what tactics you choose on here, you'll probably have more leads and estimates than you can handle. And then we can move on to other problems like hiring a sales rep to help you manage all those leads, right?
Yeah, exactly. And
all right,
all your eggs aren't in one basket too. So if one lead source dies down for whatever reason, consumer sentiment or algorithm change on Facebook or whatever it is, you're not all of a sudden like left with no lead flow.
100%. All right, I think we beat that one pretty good. Should we go into letter 99?
Yeah, let's do it.
Wayne Gretzky. Any hockey fans out there? Letter 99. Here we go. Should I break down my quotes? Hey guys, quick question for you. I've been going back and forth on how much detail to include in my estimates. Sometimes I break it down line by line, and other times I just give one flat total depending on the job and the client. I'm especially unsure when it comes to commercial work. Some clients want all the details, others don't. Do you have a rule of thumb for this, or is it more of a case-by-case thing? Thanks. That's Samantha from Nashville, Tennessee. I feel like we could answer this one in about 60 seconds and move on.
Yeah, this one's pretty quick.
Yeah, what do you got?
I would say, like, certainly don't break it down between like, here's my paint cost and here's my labor cost. That's just like a lump sum. I would personally would not break it down until maybe it's like if you're breaking it down by chunk of project, so you can sell one piece and then get the others as add-ons. That's useful, but like never break down projects. Be like, this is the cost per door. This is the cost per linear foot of baseboard. This is how many gallons of paint we're buying. Don't do that. And if a customer asks you for that, that's a massive red flag.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, I'd say that's, I'm in the boat now where that's probably 90% of all the estimates that you're going to do. It's not really there. But I think that Samantha called something out that there are specific instances where it might make sense. But like you said, if you're going to break out, this room is this amount and this room is this amount, it's just the total price of that, labor and paint. You're not separating it out further. And then on commercial jobs, like you asked them the question, some builders like it, or some the property managers, they like it or don't like it. In that case, you're doing a great job, which is common sense of purpose, right? Which is just understanding what are they looking for, and then creating your quote that's in alignment for that. But I would say 90% of the time, you're better off. The worst thing that you can do in a situation, especially residential, I'm going to talk about residential, is that the worst thing you can do is overwhelm the buyer. Someone that's overwhelmed does not make decisions. And so if you're estimating the full exterior of their house and you have 37 line items, the chances that they make that decision are slim to none, right?
Especially on the spot, if you're trying to book something on the spot, which I hope you are.
So whatever you're doing, think about that, and especially in terms of the residential, an overwhelmed buyer does not buy. How do you make it as simple as possible here? And like you said, sure, you can break it down for, hey, here's the full house, or here's what it would be like to just do the trim and those bulk amounts different there. That's very easy for the buyer to understand. But yeah, again, line by line, and then they start going, oh, why is this price this way? There's just so many things that can go there. Yeah. And then again, in the case of commercial, I think it's a little bit more, I don't think a commercial, they're going to get you to break it down line by line, but it might be like, hey, section 1 or phase 1 is this amount, and phase 2 is this amount, phase 3 is this amount. That's totally cool. But yeah, I think that the big thing to take from this is an overwhelmed person does not make buying decisions. So your job is to make it as simple as possible for them.
Yeah, while still having clear scope of work.
Yes, everything has got to be
like make sure you do have a very clear scope of work.
100%.
But you don't need to break it down like prep is, $942. Don't do it. Not necessary.
All right. I think that was pretty solid. Should we go on to big 100?
Big 100.
Here we go. Finishing up season.
Marcus from Raleigh, you're the special letter.
Honestly, we should send Marcus something. Being letter 100. I think Marcus. We're gonna
let us know your address. We're gonna send you a little something. Maybe.
Yeah. If you're listening to this, Marcus.
Okay. Hey, Rush Busters. Things have been slower than usual lately. Lead flow has dipped, and I'm worried about that. I've already been trying door-to-door, Facebook ads, and flyers, but I'm just not seeing the results I used to. I've been thinking about adding pressure washing or other exterior services to try and bring in more business, but I don't want to lose focus either. Is it a smart move to expand services when leads are low, or should I double down on what I'm already doing and try a new strategy? Thanks in advance, Marcus.
Is this a good opportunity to introduce the RTV filter?
Fire away, probably.
Cool. Yeah. So something that we introduced at the mastermind is something called the RTV filter, and it's to help you make decisions for yourself. And it's a filter that you can run through. So the first one is R. So it's an acronym, RTV. The first one is revenue. Is this going to increase my revenue? Right. Then the next one is time. Is this going to help the company produce more time or save me time? Right. That's T. And then V, is this in alignment with the long-term vision of what I'm doing? Right. So let's break this down in the context of adding additional services. Number one, is it going to add revenue? Yes, I think that adding additional services is probably going to add revenue, right? Is it going to reduce time? Probably not, because when you start adding on additional services and you don't have that systemized, you don't you might not have the staff and the people. It's going to require more of you to do that. It may result in more produced hours, but more of your time to achieve that. So I'd say no on that one, right? And then the third one is the only answer that Marcus can make on this one, which is this aligned with your long-term vision and where you want your business to go? Or is this, hey, things are a little slow right now and I just need to make a quick buck? For the most part, what we've seen, if you make those decisions based on the short term, it ends up costing you time and money.
Totally.
Right. And I've made this mistake dozens of times in my own career, so I can speak to this one quite a bit. But just ask yourself: is adding Christmas lights or garage ceiling or pressure washing, is that actually part of where you want to be in 5+ years with your business? For the most part, if you're less than $5 million a year, you should literally just focus on interior and exterior painting. Would you agree? Disagree with that?
I would agree. Like there's it's shiny object syndrome. Until your core business is dialed, you focus on figuring that out, because figuring out marketing for a new service is going to be less efficient than figuring out a service that you already know how to market. You have some data and you just got to find out how to attract customers at this time. Right.
Well, the other thing in this letter too that I'm just rereading out too is I've already been trying door-to-door Facebook ads and flyers. That's the core issue right there. Right?
Have you been trying it or have you been doing it?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Because if you've been actually doing door-to-door and if you're not at one lead an hour, that's a skill issue.
Yeah.
Right. So that's just skill. Regardless of whatever season that you're in, you should be able to generate at least one lead per every hour that you're out in the field. And if you're not there, it's just a skill issue. You need to up your skill. In terms of, again, you're not really trying flyers. We talked about this earlier on letter 98, but do you have a system that gets X amount of flyers out every 6 weeks to those same neighborhoods that are going out time and time again to see if you're at above or below a 1% from a piece of mail to an estimate booked? And then again, Facebook ads kind of depends on the market and what you're doing there. But I think that if I was to look at this and really stem down, the number one thing that we talk about as coaches all the time is to help you identify what's the right problem first, then the right solution, right? And so you're trying to jump to, Mark's the way you phrase this is you're trying to jump to that may be the right solution to do, but you've misidentified the problem, right? And the problem here is that there's something going on where your marketing isn't resulting in the leads that we would expect. And so that's the issue. So then we need to think, what is the right, so that's the right problem. Now we need to deploy the right solution to help those things actually execute there. So door-to-door, it's skill, right? Skill set in terms of being able to convert a cold door into a lead. And then direct mail, say it again.
I guess that would involve in skill, but for example, door-to-door, biggest thing I find when people go try door-to-door and they say it doesn't work, we hop on a call, look at their targeting. They're in the wrong neighborhoods.
Yep.
They're targeting people that have no money.
Yep. And it's like, if you want to just waste a lot of time, do that.
100%.
It all starts with that. And then again, like I said, so it's understanding the targeting, your skill, the script on your direct mail. It's going into the creative, the call to action, all those things that make, what is, a good piece of direct mail. And then, Facebook ads, there's a ton of different variables that could be going on there. So starting there is going to yield you considerably higher results to get this sorted versus just being like, hey, my marketing isn't working, I should add other services, because what's going to happen there?
You're going to ineffectively market a new service.
You're going to have the same problem. You're not going to have leads for the new services either, right?
If people aren't signing up for painting or giving you leads for painting, they're probably not going to give you leads for pressure washing, doing the same marketing in the same neighborhoods.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? So. Same customers.
Which I think this is such a good letter for 100. There's the 4 boxes. I just want to call them out for everybody again here. And if you're living in any of the 3, then the top right box, we always use matrices of boxes, right? So the top right box is the one you want to be. But let's start in the bottom right box, is when you're in wrong problem, wrong solution. So you've misidentified what's going on, and then you're not even doing the right thing to solve that wrong problem. If your life isn't moving forward right now, your business is moving forward, you're likely living in that box.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the box in the bottom left is wrong problem, right solution. Okay, so you just haven't identified. The one that we just came across here right now is that you just misidentified what the problem is in the business. That might be the right solution, but it's just the wrong problem, right? So your business, again, is not going to move forward in the way that you want. Then the box on the top left is right problem. Okay, great. That's actually the hardest thing to do, is identify what's actually the right problem. That's great. But now you haven't deployed the right solution. And so it's wrong solution. So right problem, wrong solution. And again, you're not going to get the objective and outcome that you want. So where you really want to live is, what is the right problem? And most people miss this step big time, and they just start going into what we call like a discussion and coming up with action items. And they go work their tails off and bust it 16 hours a day, but they're not even focused on the right problem. So really making sure that you've identified that, yes, this is the right problem that we want to solve. And then going into, what is the right way to solve it given your scenario and your circumstances. In us as coaches in Painter Growth, this is literally the number one thing that we help our clients with, is making sure that you're focused on the right problem, and then we get you into the right solution. And then as soon as you've solved that in your business, what do we do again? We just repeat the same process and identify what's the next right problem to focus on right now in your business, and get that right solution going right away. All right.
Verbal gold coming out of Jesse right there.
That's letter 100. Gavin, what do you have any reflections on this season 1 you want to share with the audience here?
Oh man, I mean, it's really interesting. The letters that are submitted, some are from people within the Painter Growth community already, but a lot of them are from just listeners of the podcast. It's the same questions, same problems, right? So I guess ultimately that's a benefit of working with people who have dealt with these problems before. Is that's why, when we come on, it's like we have answers to these. It's because we've solved all these problems before. And even if we were to go back across all of these letters, probably lots of very similar letters. So,
and I think that's a really interesting insight there too, is that a lot of the questions and how they're being asked, if we can get to the core of what's being asked in the question, we can simplify things for people's brain so much, right? If you go back and there's 100 letters of 100 different, problems or challenges that we've solved over here, but really it's simple. And for everyone listening right now, it's to just break down and think of your painting business. You have marketing, you have sales, you have production, you have finances, and you have admin, right? That's like the core. And then as you go, then you have leadership, right? So you have team leadership. There's really 6 buckets. And going back to identifying what's the right problem, it's like, hey, which bucket of these 6 is the right problem to focus on right now? And then deploy that solution as quickly as possible. But really to simplify it for everybody listening, to reduce all the overwhelm that's going on, because as a business owner, there is a million things that you could do and you could focus on right now. And information or access to information is not really the solve anymore. There's information everywhere. There's information all over YouTube, everything now. The number one asset that you have as a business owner right now, and your skill to focus on, is focus. And when you identify which of those 6 areas to focus on in your business, and you say, okay, this is what I'm going to go do right now, it's literally putting your blinders on and saying no to everything else that you could do. And that, I think, is probably the hardest thing for business owners to actually do, right?
Because I mean, it's the same with time management. Like, no is the most powerful word in your arsenal, right? And I think people that are building businesses get so caught up in like, I need to make everyone happy all the time, and that's how I'm going to build my business. When in reality, all you're doing is, like, by saying yes to everything, is you're just giving away control of your business and your life. Every single time you say yes to something, you are actually saying no to something else, right? So if you say, yeah, I'm going to go solve this other small little problem that came up today instead of the actual core constraint, you're actually saying, no, I don't want to solve that core constraint. I'm going to just go and do something that makes me feel good instead, putting out this, dealing with this small issue. Yeah, no is a very, very powerful word, and it's underused.
100%. Any last thoughts for season 1 of Brushbusters?
No, I mean, I'm super excited for season 2. It's just getting better. It's going to get better and better. We got a ton of new coaches joining the team. Super exciting. Some very, very dialed people. Yeah, I'm looking forward to a little, maybe it's a bit of a different format. I can't give too much away at this point, but it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, I think my final reflections, I just want to acknowledge all the listeners and everyone that has submitted a letter, being vulnerable, asking questions, and allowing us to, help provide some guidance and insight on this. We hope that, if you've taken one thing and applied it in your business and it's helped, even a little bit, that's why we love to do this, and it's to help you guys move forward. So we just want to acknowledge everybody out there that's been part of this. We couldn't do this without all the letters, obviously. So thank you for sending it. Like Gavin said, and we mentioned earlier, season 2, it's going to be an absolute banger, and excited for what's to come here.
All right.
Sweet. Thanks, guys. See you in season 2.